Brewed in South Korea. It's got ties to Brooklyn, New York, and it's a Belgian-style wheat beer. There's a whole lot going on. It's the Jeju Wit Ale. You better get your passport out because you're going around the world with this one. Hey there YouTube, welcome back. So today we're going to talk about the Jeju Wit Ale. So a little bit about me right now. I'm actually doing the expat thing. I'm living overseas. I live in South Korea. Beer nerd overseas, kind of an interesting life, a little bit of a challenge to find the good stuff. So that's where this brewery comes in. The craft brewery scene in Korea circa 2, 3, 4 years ago, not that good. There's a great drinking culture. Soju, I mean, if you go out and party, it's solid, but beer here is pretty much light lager. It's a bunch of light lager brands served in big old 40-ounce bottles to drink in small glasses, and that's the culture. Except there's been a lot of Koreans that have traveled abroad, and a lot of Americans and other Europeans that have come here, and with the mixing of a global world, now we've got some interesting beer and some desire for craft beer. So about 2 to 3 years ago, some Korean folks decided that they wanted to open a brewery. So they reached out to the Brooklyn Brewery, fairly large and well-known craft breweries on the East Coast, and said, hey, we want help. And that's where this beer came about. Those guys came over, helped them out, gave them technical advice, and they set up shop at a place called Jeju-do, or Jeju Island, the southwest coast of the Korean peninsula there. And now they've got a brewery going. And now this is their first beer. Just over a year ago, they've got their first beer out on the street, and it's this Jeju Wit beer. And that's what we're going to take a look at today. It's kind of an epic change for beer scene here in Korea. Okay, so now to the beer. This is the Jeju Wit Ale. So what is a Wit Ale? It is a Belgian white beer, traditionally made with wheat. It's lightish on the alcohol content, and in a lot of cases is usually flavored with some kind of citrus, so usually orange peel is very common, and some spices, typically coriander or clove or spices like that, and you'll definitely pick that up on the nose of this beer when you get after it. For the stat heads out there, this is a 5.3% ABV beer, so certainly in the lower end of the alcohol range, and very low on the bitterness. I think 15 IBUs, so not true to style, not some kind of beer that you're going to go out and get super bitter with. Not a hoppy beer, not designed to be a hoppy beer, but really pretty good. So you can see, if you look at the label on the bottle there, it's a summer island. If you've never been to Korea, if you've never been to Jeju Island, it is a tourist spot and it is a warm weather spot. And surprisingly, for a Belgian-y kind of German beer style, this is actually really good to drink in the warm weather. It's very cool and refreshing. So enough listening to me yak. Let's take a look at what we got going on here. As you can see, this beer not as cloudy as some of the other wit beers in the style, but definitely as it settles into the glass, you'll definitely see there's some sediment and there's some cloudiness to it. So that's kind of like what you expect. Nice creamy white head on it and a nice pale straw color. So that's what you'd expect from a wit beer. So the aroma right off the bat, just banana bread, cloves, a breadiness, no hops to be detected on there, and that's what you expect. Not a lot of that coriander spice, but just a little bit of that spice note. Think kind of hard to, it's that kind of almost like a pie spice kind of note there, and that's very common with this kind of beer there. Really good on the nose and follows that style. So fun fact, didn't know this, but the brewers are using oranges grown on Jeju to flavor this beer, because remember we said orange peels are a very common flavoring ingredient, so that's one of the things that they're going to use to try this. So good aroma, nice color. Let's go for the taste. Yep, there it is. So right off the bat, there's a certain breadiness. Remember, this is a wheat beer, so there's a certain breadiness to the mouthfeel, and then definitely not as much of the spice as you might expect from some other types of wit beers. This is very heavy on the citrus side, which being as how one of the featured ingredients is local oranges, that's kind of to be expected. We expect that there. So This thing is really doing the work with that. Yep, definitely. Very refreshing, almost no hop bitterness. Like, this is the use of hops in a beer just to kind of level out the sweetness of what's going on with the malt and just be beer. So good finish. Finish goes on. Really long finish. And one of the things you detect is a little bit of that funkiness that comes from the yeast strains that are used. You know, Belgian funk. No, I don't mean the white guy that they made the basis for Earth, Wind, and Fire. I mean a funky, it's a yeast character, and if you're drinking a Belgian style beer, if you're drinking any of these kind of beers and it's not there, it's missing. You miss it. It's what characterizes that beer, and it's really from the yeast. It's actually part of what the yeast brings to the flavor profile, and it's here in this beer. So really good. Good finish. Served cold, nice and refreshing. A nice summer sipper for the surprisingly hot summers here in South Korea. I didn't know it was going to be this hot. It's hot. It's real hot. And wherever you are, if you like it, if it's something looking for a nice refreshing beer for a hot summer day, this is your beer. So food pairings. Like always, we always want to pair beers with food because, hey, it's good. We've been doing a lot of IPAs recently, and that leads you down a road for food pairings. This one leads you down a different road. So if you're thinking summer foods, hey, something I would eat if it's a warm summer night, you're on the right track with this kind of beer. You're not thinking heavy beef stew or anything like that, not what you're looking for here. So one of the things off the top of my head that I think this would go really nicely with would be a summer salad with kind of a fresh goat cheese. A little bit of the funk of the cheese, the creaminess will pair nicely with this, and the cool salad flow. Something you might want to try. If goat cheese is not your thing, and trust me, there are plenty of people for whom it isn't their thing, you might want to try something different. So one of the things you may want to try, if you're not going down the salad route, is seafood. This pairs beautifully with seafood. I don't know if it's because it was built somewhere or is brewed somewhere that is on an island, but I'm thinking either some fried or grilled whitefish, possibly some halibut with a cream sauce. That's my kind of favorite. Some halibut, nice white fleshed fish with real creamy sauce right down the middle. That's hitting the sweet spot for me. Or maybe some mussels served in kind of a spicy broth might go real well with this. Like I said, let summer be your guidepost, and I think you're going to find really good stuff with that. So wrapping it up, Jeju wit ale, wit beer. What are my thoughts? I like it. I'd give this a solid 7.5 to 8 out of 10. Probably because it's really hot out and this is exactly the beer you want to drink. I love porters and stouts, but not in a day like today, I don't. If you're in Korea, give it a try in the summertime. You're really going to like it. So anyway, like it. If you see it in the bottle shop, definitely this is a thumbs up, recommend, buy. But if you could, hey, like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Tell everyone about what's going on. Comment below about things you want to talk about. Help keep this thing going. And cheers.